Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Guilty Movie Pleasures.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you should probably turn this episode off because this is not appropriate for kids. Because today we are back with a very special episode of Guilty Movie Pleasures with me, your host, Ben Begley. With me, as always, my co-host,
Jesse McIntosh.
And a very special guest, the co-writer of Piranha 3D, who also wrote Sorority Row, Good Luck Chuck, and the upcoming Saw movie, Spiral. And he wrote Jigsaw, my buddy Josh Stolberg.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Awesome. Thank you for joining us,
Doing
Josh.
great.
I am happy to be here. I love talking about my glory days.
I feel like, I don't know, man. Writing a Saw movie with Chris Rock and Sam Jackson seems pretty glorious to me.
You're right. I'm joking. I'm not joking in that of all of the films that I've made, Piranha just feels like it hit the right mark.
Yeah.
You know, every movie you make, you know, you feel like, I wish it had gone this way. I wish they had cast this person. I wish that I had made a different decision about the third act, whatever it is. And for some reason, Piranha just kind of came out in a way that was I was very proud of.
Well, you definitely can't be not proud of the third act because it's the most bonkers third act I've ever seen in a movie.
Boy, do you hit the accelerator when we get into the third act of this one.
Yeah. Well, you know what's really funny, guys, is that that was actually the end of the second act. We chopped off an entire third act that we had written because there wasn't enough money to make it.
That was one of my major questions because after watching it, this is like the fourth time I've seen it, I think. And after watching it this time, I was like, it feels like more movie exists. Like before, I just thought it was a fun cliffhanger, and then this was the first time watching it where I was like, I was going to ask you. So can you tell us then what the third act would have been?
Oh my God. I mean, we're going back
10 years,
so many years right now, but I can tell you that there was a different ending that had to do, the film was shot in Lake Havasu Lake Havasu. We renamed it Lake Victoria because of clearances, because of legal reasons.
Because no one wants to be called no lake that has tourists coming in.
Exactly.
Stigmatized with killer piranhas.
Exactly. So there was, you can actually see the London Bridge at Lake Havasu. They tore down the original London Bridge in England and brought it brick by brick over to Lake Havasu. Right. So you can actually see the London Bridge in the background of some of the shots. That's how you can tell that it's actually Lake Havasu. But down the ways away at Lake Havasu, there's also a big dam, and we had a third act in there that had to do with the killing of the piranha was with electricity generated by the dam. And we had this shot at the very, very end of the movie where all of these colored, the water gets electrified and all of these colored fish come up. I mean, obviously it was building to in huge ways past that. But yeah, the current third act of the movie Piranha 3D was actually the end of the second act in the original script.
Was there still the reveal that they were just babies? Or was
yes, exactly. That was a little tag. That was a little tag. Yeah.
So did they fight? Okay, so that was added on after, or were they going to fight mommy and daddy piranhas in the original?
Never. No. I like where you're going though. I like that idea. That had always been a tag on the movie. That the piranha were actually baby piranha. But good. Yeah, and that would have been a great way to go with the third act. But at the time, we were still looking at that the mama piranhas being the button. Yeah.
So there was never a version of this movie where they weren't exclusively trying to murder babies.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Perfect. So, I wanted to ask you, God, I have so many questions. I wanted to ask you first a little bit about your other projects, some things you have upcoming and stuff like that, because I know with the quarantine, things have all kind of grinded to a halt. But ever since I've known you, and I've known you since 2012, I think we did Hangover Games, if I remember right. Which, by the way, Josh directed me in a little spoof movie called The Hangover Games. Right there.
Where's my coffee? Where's my coffee?
You don't have a copy? Do you really not have a copy?
No, I do. It's just up on my bookshelf.
Oh, I was about to say, I bought like multiple back in the day, and I was like, oh, I had this idea of like sending it to casting directors, and I was like, there's a lot of like dick and fart humor in this. I don't know if every casting director is going to be stoked on that. So I just have a shelf of them.
Everybody should check out my Twitter tomorrow. I'll make sure I post a couple of really embarrassing photos of Ben.
Oh,
Begley.
no.
Nice.
Maybe not from the end credits montage.
Maybe from the end credits montage. You never know.
It's funny how you
and the end credits of the Hangover Games. That's when we realized Ben was just the baby, right?
Exactly.
And then there's a
bigger Ben.
Okay. There's a bigger Ben coming.
For those of you who haven't seen the Hangover Games, one of the films Josh directed, it was a spoof movie that was a mashup of the Hunger Games meets the Hangover, where the Hangover guys get wasted and wake up in the Hunger Games, and they fight all of Hollywood's tributes, all their shitty content that they throw in a ring to kill each other. And it's ridiculous and fun. And like we were saying, though, the end credits montage is making fun of the super vulgar photos at the end of The Hangover. And now that I have kids, I'm like, oh, is any of that going to come back to haunt me when they're like, their friends are like Googling, they're like, yo, your dad was in this movie where he's like part of a human centipede? And they're like, no, it's just a spoof. It's a spoof photo. Hashtag my dad is a human centipede. It's like, no!
Exactly, exactly.
And it does open you up to do that for real. And then you can just be like, that's part of the spoof. It really
I don't know where they got those photos.
I do remember though. I remember I had enough foresight to be like, okay, I'm not going to do that thing, but I'll do this thing. You know, like we tag out each other for different photos.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
There were a lot of the actors that were just like, anything, just tell me what to do. I'll do anything, which was a lot of fun. It really, I'm okay on that one.
I mean, you guys, but hey, it was method acting. It fits the Ed Helms character I played.
Exactly.
He's a little more cautious than actor. But enough about the Hangover Games. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out. I think it's on Tubi or Crackle. It's all over the place.
One of those.
I saw that you have a Nightbreed TV series in the mix. Is that still in development?
I have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm working on right now. One is
you're the busiest man in Hollywood.
One of them is a Nightbreed TV show. We're kind of on an extended hiatus, waiting for one of the directors that I can't name right now, but a big, huge director has come on and is excited about working on the reboot. So we're kind of waiting for that person to have the time to work on the project. Okay. I'm doing a TV show for CW Seed, which will either wind up on the Seed or it could wind up on the network itself as like a Halloween special. But it's called Kappa Kappa Die. We just finished it. It's a haunted sorority house. It's not. It has nothing to do with Sorority Row. It is basically a girl who is rushing the sorority where her sister died in the house. She died in a fire rescuing a whole bunch of other of the sisters, and we find out that a ghost is killing off all of the members of the sorority.
Nice.
And it's a really amazing, fun little it's a 50 minutes, so it's a TV show length, but it is not quite safe for TV. So if they go to the network, I'm not sure exactly what they're going to do. There's a lot of blood and cussing and stuff. So I'm doing that, and I've got obviously I've got Spiral coming out It was supposed to come out in a couple of weeks on May 15th with Chris Rock and Sam Jackson and Max Minghella, and it's a continuation of the Saw storyline. Very, very, very excited about it. It's going to be a blast.
It looks, from the trailer, it looks kind of more in the vein of like a Seven, like a more gritty, focused on the investigation of it than. I haven't seen every Saw movie. I saw the first one, the 3D one, Jigsaw, and then I missed the ones in between all of those. But it seems like it's more focused on these police investigating a serial killer than just like the victims and like the gruesome torture of the game as much. It seems like it focuses on both potentially.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's definitely got a Seven vibe to it.
Yeah.
The director is Darren Bousman, who is just an amazing director. He directed what I think is arguably the best Saw film, which was Saw 2. He did Saw 2, 3, and 4. Oh my God, it's so good. I think Saw 2 is better than the original film. So he's back. So he's brought a lot of his own tone back into the franchise, and getting a chance to work with Chris Rock was just a dream come true. I mean, he is just he's a genius, and I'm thrilled. I cannot wait for the world to see this film. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. So I've got that. So I've got Spiral.
That's awesome.
Then I have Pete, my writing partner, Pete Goldfinger, who I write all of my horror with. We have 2 scripts right now that we're just finishing up, that we've been working on for about 6 months now. One is called Red Wedding, and it is a slasher / horror / crazy ass kidnapping horror movie, which I am excited to send out to the town. We have not sent it out yet. And then the last.
So we have the scoop here on Red Wedding, then, is what you're saying.
Yes.
We broke the story on Red Wedding, your new slasher kidnapping wedding flick.
Yeah. So that's gonna go out to the town as soon as all of this Corona stuff calms down.
Yeah.
And then we're writing another film too. That we're playing around with Chris Rock on. So
that's awesome.
We're busy. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great. It's fantastic.
What's so crazy is we've talked about this before, where like I've called you up for writing advice and things like that, and industry advice. We've kept in touch pretty well ever since the Hangover Games was like this special, ridiculous experience where I still keep in touch with a lot of the people from it. And I was telling Jesse, because Jesse had to drive all the way over to my place to pick up the Blu-ray of Piranha 3D because he couldn't find it online. And so he drove all the way from Inglewood to grab it today from me. And I was just telling him how, like, I'll call you and I'm like, it'll probably go to voicemail or whatever. And then you pick up right away and I'm almost thrown off because you're not used to that in LA. You're like, wait, what? Oh, shit. You're like available to talk and not like, okay, yeah, I gotta go. So I just want to let people know that you're a cool dude. And I appreciate the advice and the mentoring you've given me, and just being an enthusiastic friend and fellow artist.
Thanks, man. Thank you. No, that was a really special time. I mean, the movie itself is just silly, incredibly silly.
It's so silly.
But it was a really, really fun time. And all of the actors, all of you guys just did a fantastic job. It was a blast. It was a fun time. It was a really, really good experience.
And I did want to ask you, and then Jesse, I know you had a couple questions too. We have so many, and then we'll get into the movie. Because I want to talk.
Wait. Before you do, I'm going to break protocol for 1 second. And Ryan wrote me something about, but I'm on my phone, so I have no idea how to say. Something was wrong with my headphones. Ryan, you want to?
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, if you could just try not to have the mic scrape against your shirt, or rub against your shirt, just get a tiny bit of feedback there.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
All right.
Can I tell you, Josh? Ryan is turned his video off today because he got roasted last week for his mustache.
I did.
That's the reason his video is not active.
We were kind of merciless on his. It's because we treat Ryan like, even though he's our producer, he's younger than us, so sometimes we rag on him like we're big brothers. But really, it's just the insecurity of my like kind of aging and the fact that just he's
I'm a little
so
brother.
young and full of life still.
I hear you.
Yeah, the two beards are ragging on my.
The two beards. Yeah, we're trying to compete here. My wife hates it. So I did want to ask you though. You write a ton of TV and film, and it seems to go like comedy, horror, comedy, horror, and that's kind of your favorite wheelhouse. It seems like is horror. But I noticed when you direct, it's usually comedy, except Crawl Space was a horror film. So do you have a preference, or do you think that because both genres are similar in that you can infuse comedy in a lot of your horror, and a scare is the same thing as a surprise with when you laugh, something surprises you and you're scared, or something surprises you and you laugh. Do you find that they go hand in hand and that's why you dig both genres, or what's your approach usually?
Yeah, I mean, I think your point is really solid, and it's not new to me that idea of there's a very, very strong correlation between comedy and horror in the way that you're writing. It's all about setup and punchline, and for comedy, the setup and the punchline delivers an unexpected, uncontrollable laugh out of your body, and the exact same thing. That's the setup and the build up to the scare, and then the punchline is the delivery of the scare. Yeah. So they're very, very similar in the way that you approach them as far as writing. I got started in comedy. I wrote for more than a decade in the studio system, doing a lot of rewrites on big comedies and punch ups and roundtables, and I feel very comfortable in that world. Yeah. But I grew up on horror. Like, I was the creepy kid with the Halloween poster in my bedroom, and I love horror more than anything. And when I was first getting started with my writing partner, Pete, who I do my horror with, we were looking for an avenue in, because I had already established my career in the comedy space with another partner, a guy named Bobby Florsheim, who I'm actually currently writing stuff with right now. But we were looking for an avenue in, and it actually started with Piranha. Piranha was our first horror script that we wrote, even though it wasn't the first one that came out. Yeah. So I had a friend named J. Todd Harris, a producer who I just adore. Really, really, really nice guy. He was a producer on Piranha. He owned the rights to Piranha. And at the time, I had never written a horror film before, and knew that I had there was no way for me, no studio was going to hire the guy who wrote for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and wrote Good Luck Chuck to do a horror movie. But I desperately wanted to do one. So Pete and I got together and we wrote a spec script called Killer Fish. And we came up with the idea for Piranha, and called it Killer Fish. And I sent it very deliberately to J. Todd Harris, saying, "Hey, this is a script I wrote. It might work for Piranha. What do you think?" And he luckily read it and loved it, and optioned the material. And that's how Piranha started. So it started from my huge desire to get into horror, my huge desire to write with one of my best friends of all time, Pete. And that's how we kind of backdoored our way into writing horror movies, was knowing who owned the rights to Piranha, realizing we had an idea that might work for that. Yeah. And then the craziest thing was when they did the credit arbitration for Piranha, and the WGA read all the scripts. Actually, the original Piranha, it was part of they call it the chain of title, which is the list of projects that come before it. And they decided that Piranha had that's the reason why it's not based on, like, it's written by Josh and Pete. There's no other, it's not based on a John Sayles project. It's not based on anything other than that. So, yeah.
I don't remember Piranha that well. I saw it when I remember seeing it shortly after Jaws when I was younger. And I remember it being way gorier. I just remember a couple scenes of just like people getting mauled and being like, oh shit. And so I don't know, is there any similarity between that and your movie other than Piranhas?
No.
I didn't think so.
It's just Piranha. You know, in you know, calling this a remake is sort of like saying Deep Blue Sea is a remake of Jaws because they both have sharks in it, or that, you know, Independence Day is a remake of War of the Worlds because they both have aliens invading. I mean, yes, I admit that certainly I knew that this project existed and they were planning on making a sequel to it, but our approach, my approach to remaking films, because I've done a few of them. I did Sorority Row, which was a remake. I've done a few of these projects, and my approach is always, well, the other film exists, and Piranha, the original Piranha, was actually a really good film. Joe Dante and John Sayles.
I'm gonna watch it this week now.
It's great. It's great, and there are things that they did in that film that are very are cutting edge. Like they kill a whole bunch of kids in that movie, and now you see that all the time. But in the day, you didn't see that. Like, you don't kill kids. I mean, that was like an unwritten rule. And there's a scene with a whole bunch of kids in a summer camp getting killed. But when we decided to do this, really it came from a standpoint of, I'll tell you where the Piranha 3D, and this is kind of embarrassing about where it came from.
Yeah.
I had seen the Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson sex tape, and in the Pamela Lee and Tommy Lee sex tape, which I was watching purely for
research.
Mm-hmm. They rent a boat and they go out on Lake Havasu. And at one point they're kind of panning along Lake Havasu, and you're seeing a zillion boats in the water. And there's this cliff, and there are kids diving off the cliff. And it just kind of dawned on us, like, hey, I wasn't watching the Pamela Lee Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape with Pete. I brought this up afterward, but it just dawned on us, like, wouldn't it be cool? Spring break, Lake Havasu, Piranha in the water. And, ripping off a little bit of Jaws in the meantime. What's crazy to me is, and I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
No,
but
please.
What's crazy to me is how similar, like, you look at today, and, when you first saw Jaws, there was a little bit of that you thought, the mayor coming out and saying, we're not going to close down the beaches because of a great white shark. And you're thinking, that would never happen in a million years. And that's what we do in Piranha also. Yeah. There's Piranha in the world. We're not going to shut down the town because, this is a big spring break town. And then last week, you're seeing Florida keep its beaches open during this pandemic. And you're like, it's not fake. This is what people are really like. Money trumps life. Money trumps safety. Money trumps all of these things. And you see all of these crazy people out there, protesting against the quarantine.
I mean, I want to get my hair cut, and it's not even stuff like I want to go back to work. It's like, let me go get my hair cut. Let me go to the mall. It's like, what?
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And at least with like Jaws or Piranha, you just get out of the water and you're fine. But coronavirus it's like it follows. It's invisible. Yeah. You don't know where it is, and it can always be there.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So Josh, I literally, one of the questions I sent to Ben as we were preparing for this podcast was crazy that the people who went out and did the research told everyone to get out of the water, and they took the advice of the wet t-shirt contest guy.
Who that was?
Is there anything, could you even imagine something
Eli
like
Roth
that happening in real life today?
Yeah.
But yes, the answer is yes.
That's it. Yes, 100%. Crazy. Yes, 100%. Yeah.
My other question was which sex tape inspired you, but we already have that one.
Good. I'm glad I answered that in advance.
No. What I did have questions about, because you mentioned a couple of different writing partnerships that you write with.
Yeah.
I'm wondering sort of what the process is writing with someone else. Do you have a particular strength that you look, or particular weakness that you look for the other person to have a strength in, or how do you guys complement one another with writing?
You know, I've written with other partners. I've had, over the course of my career, I've had 6 or 7 or 8 different writing partnerships. Pete is the one that I've been working with mostly for the last 10 years. And he is one of my best friends, and it works seamlessly. You know, it's nice to have somebody that you trust and that you love and that feels like elevates your writing. So that's an important part. And the way that we work usually is we break the story together. So we come up with what the idea is, and we just basically walk around the block and come up with ideas about where the story is going to go. And then once we've locked into the story, then it's just about trading pages. So I'll write the first 10 pages. I'll send them off to Pete or to Bobby or whoever I'm working with at the time. And they'll rewrite my pages and then add another 10 pages and then send me back 20. And then I rewrite the 20 and add on 10. And it just goes back and forth. And the kind of unwritten rule is that if someone changes your material, it's because they felt like it wasn't meant to be in the final draft. And you're not supposed to go back. The rule is, you know how like there's a rule in when you're doing improv that you never say no, it's always yes and. It's the same philosophy when you're writing with a partner, where you never go back to your old material. If they've changed it and you don't like what they've changed it to, then you come up with something different. So that's kind of the process that we work with. And it allows us to also write multiple scripts at the same time. So like we're writing Red Wedding and this other project, this other drama right now together. So we're able to, I'm working on one, Pete's working on the other, and we flip flop and then rewrite each other and flip flop and rewrite each other. And that's how the whole thing gets done.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. That's what a buddy of mine that I write with occasionally, he's better at we write horror comedy too, and he's better at the scary stuff and I'm better at the jokey stuff. So I'll literally write a scene and then Matt writes something scary here that builds suspense better than Ben can. And then I send it off to him because that's not a strong suit. So like, do you find that you prefer dialogue or action or both? Or is it just like, it's just you guys complement each other all together?
No, we don't complement each other all together. Pete is a real stickler for story. When I'm working with him, he is militant about story structure. And he's also really great at dialogue. I love writing kills. I love coming up with kills.
Yeah.
I love writing action. I love writing jokes. You know, the biggest issue that we have as a partnership together is that we both don't have a volume control on the craziness, the nastiness, the dark humor. So sometimes some of our stuff sometimes needs to be pulled back a little bit. But yeah, no, it's great to have somebody that compliments you. But what's more important is somebody that sees you, understands what you're trying to do, and then does their best to make it better. And that's
That actually segues perfect into one of my questions, which was it's two-parter. One, what's your favorite kill in the movie? My favorite kill, I'll tell you. Oh, wait, I want to hear yours.
No. I want to hear yours. I want to see if yours is the same. I want to hear Jesse's too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess Jesse and I should tell you what we thought of it, but I think it's pretty apparent what I thought of it, because I feel like one of the first days on set with you, I was like, I fucking love Piranha 3D. Like,
I remember that. Yeah, definitely.
I was obsessed with this movie. And when this came out in theaters, I remember thinking to myself the entire time, the 13-year-old Ben in me loves this so much, and the 20-something, whatever I was at the time, loved it too. But if this came out when I was a teenager, my parents would be like, why do you keep renting the same movie from Blockbuster every weekend? Like, it's just good. It's just good. I just like it. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Why is around the 36-minute mark like worn out on the tape? It's just a very beautiful moment with two women swimming. It's just a ballet.
Wait, can I take a brief detour in our conversation to express my deep concern for those two women and how they never came up for air, and they were just down there for between 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. They spent a full day prepping that, like just like practicing the dance with like gear on in order to do it right.
So for those of you who don't know, there's like a 5-minute nude water ballet between Kelly Brook and Riley Steele.
Riley Steele.
I had to pretend that I was reading their names and that I didn't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I've never heard of these two women, but what's funny about that sequence is that it's sexy, but it's also like beautifully shot and like super. It looks like two mermaids swimming.
Yeah.
I remember being in awe of
Alex.
that.
Yeah. Alex Aja.
He's so good. The director.
The reason this movie works is because of the director. I mean, and I'm not gonna. I can't sit here and take credit for all of it. There were several people that came in and did rewrites on the script over the course of the time. And Alex and his producing partner Gregory did some rewrites on it also. And I believe the water ballet was all inside of Alex's head. Like that was not in our original script. And I think it was all just, we actually have a document that is our very, very first just ideas for the film. Like just writing down, like our very, very first day of notes. And one of the first days of notes was glass bottom boat, girls swimming underneath. Wait, hold on one sec. Someone's calling me. I've got it.
Oh no.
Oh,
we lost Josh. Well, hey, everybody, until we get Josh back, we're talking about the nude water ballet. If you haven't seen, I would love for people to comment to Ryan right now if they have seen the movie, what they thought about it. And if you haven't, you need to track this movie down. It is one of my favorite B movies of the 2010s, if not my favorite. It hits the ground running with Richard Dreyfuss in a boat fishing, and he immediately gets attacked by piranha that break out of an underwater cave. And
so there's an earthquake, right?
There's an earthquake and they shoo him apart.
Right.
And his bloody hand is just like Evil Dead Sam Raimi style comes out. The gore in this is all by Greg Nicotero, who worked on The Walking Dead. What did you think about
it's actually like an incredible cast.
Adam Scott, Elizabeth Shue. Hey, we're back.
Christopher Lloyd.
Lloyd's in it. Yeah. So we were giving people a little rundown since we've been talking so much. Maybe they didn't even know anything about the movie yet.
But so you were talking, Josh, about the water ballet and the glass bottom boat.
Oh, I can't hear you. I think the audio needs to. Technology.
Hey Josh, I think this movie, bottom left corner.
Killer piranhas escape from a lake under a lake in Lake Havasu and wreak havoc on a spring break. There we go.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm really, really sorry. One of my other writing partners, Bobby, just happened to call me right in the middle of it. And
Bobby,
everything.
So you're telling us about your list sheet.
Oh yeah. So our very, very, very first document had underwater glass bottom boat, beautiful women swimming underneath. I mean, like that was like from our very, very, very first document. We had the cliff scene written. We had the parasailing girl written. We had, there were like some things that were just right there from our very first meeting on the project. Actually, one of my favorite gags in the film, which I have to say wasn't done. It didn't come across in the film as great as what I think the gag is, which was when Riley Steele gets killed, the beautiful porn girl.
I love that moment.
Yeah, but when she gets killed, there's a beat in the script, and it's in the movie, but it just doesn't pop the way it should. But she gets killed, and then her body gets like all eaten up, and then the only thing you see are her two breast implants floating to the top of the water. And to me, that was like my favorite, like just gag. It wasn't my favorite kill, but it was definitely my favorite gag in the film. And it doesn't play as great as it should.
Sorry.
I just want to throw this out there because my wife was not watching the movie with me, but she happened to come back into the living room at that moment. And having not seen the movie, that is easily her favorite part of the movie. I think it might have influenced her to go back and watch the whole thing, because she was like, "That is genius. That is a perfect."
That's awesome.
Little
I thought you were about to say it influenced her to get breast implants.
Listen, we have a long road ahead of us in this quarantine. I'm not going to rule it out.
I will tell you, I felt like a nervous teenage boy watching it, because I pulled out my 100-inch projector screen, put it in 3D, and the new ballet is happening last night. And like a teenage boy, I kept looking over my shoulder for my wife to come down. I was like, I just could imagine her coming down. My wife's like 7 months pregnant, just being like, what are you watching? I'll be like, blame Josh. Here's my top 3 kills I'll give you.
Yeah, tell me.
The one that made me gag when I saw it in theaters is the woman who gets her hair caught in the boat motor, and then it rips her hair and the front of her face off, and it's just a skull going. I love the Riley Steele kill, because with the piranha, like with her going and then puking up the piranha, especially in 3D last night, because I hadn't seen it in a decade in 3D. It comes right at you, and then Jerry O'Connell's reaction of "Holy shit" is so funny. And then Jerry O'Connell laying there with no legs going, "They took my penis." In fact, wait, we have that sound clip, Ryan. Can you play the "They took my penis" clip? Hold on. Do we hear it? I don't hear it, but maybe the audience does. There it is. Play it again, Ryan. They took my penis. They took my penis. And then his last lines before he dies are wet t-shirt contest.
Just so you know, I think that was Jerry. I think that line was Jerry.
It looks like he's about to laugh in that moment there when he's saying wet t-shirt contest. It's so funny. Oh wait,
I'm just grabbing. Wait, hold on. So this is the bloody oar that he beats the piranha off of his legs with. This is hanging. Is that 3D for you?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
That's hanging in my office. And wait, also in my office right here is I've got to get down so I can show you.
I don't want you to injure yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the bloody wetsuit that Adam Scott wears.
Yes.
That he comes up. So that's Adam Scott's wetsuit. And then this, I was going to wear this for the podcast, but I thought it was just a little out of taste. But this is Kelly Brooks's bikini on the boat. And then this is Riley Steele's bikini from the thing. And what else do I have of? Oh, these are Riley Steele's shoes that she signed for me.
Look at that!
Yeah, wow. And I got a Wild Girls T-shirt that was from the film. So I'm like, I've got a zillion things in here from all things Piranha.
So those are my top 3 kills. What's your favorite? You could just give us your favorite if you don't have.
Well, does Jesse have a favorite kill in there?
Yeah. So I would say Ben hit on 2 of my 3 favorite, which was the girl who gets her hair caught in the motor, and then the one where the fish comes out of the mouth, which you might be surprised by, Ben, because I have a severe aversion to seeing vomit on screen.
She vomits out a piranha.
That happens like a little bit before. And I was like, oh no, vomit on screen. Ben did it to me again. And then
always.
And then the piranha coming out of her mouth, I actually really enjoyed that, because I was like, what's going on with her? What's happening?
Yeah.
So it was like a surprising post kill. But then I would say my favorite one was the hang gliding girl who gets dipped in and then gets brought back out, only her torso.
Yeah, that's Gianna Michaels, who's another really famous porn star. And just like I was saying, that scene was written from the very first meeting. That was in the very, very first meeting we ever had on the project, where we were just brainstorming about ideas. And I think because we saw some on the Tommy Lee, Pamela Lee Anderson sex tape. I think we saw some parasailers in there. We're like, all right, that's good.
I think maybe in the chain of titles or whatever, it should have been written by you guys based on the Tommy Lee and Pamela Lee sex tape.
Definitely.
But I do want to play a couple more sound clips because we got about 8 minutes here. I could talk to you for hours about this. Were there any kills or anything that the studio, because it's a very violent movie. It has a lot of sex and nudity and ridiculousness. I mean, there's like a 5-minute scene of Eli Roth spraying women for a wet t-shirt contest with a super soaker. Was there anything that the studio pushed back on, or anything you had to edit in the writing, or where they said that's too far, or no? Because you said you have to dial it back sometimes for yourself.
I feel like on certain films you are constantly having to dial things back, and a lot of the time the MPAA, it's all about tone. So like we get our asses handed to us with Saw.
I was going to ask.
They are so hardcore about the R rating versus the X rating with Saw, partly because it feels so real, and it's torture, and it's visceral in a way that is disturbing. For something like Piranha 3D, they turn a blind eye a little bit because it's silly. It's funny. Yeah. It's silly. It doesn't. Yes, you're watching horrific, like that face getting ripped off is horrific. My favorite kill in the whole film it's in that same sequence, in that like 10-minute mayhem sequence.
Oh, yeah.
But there's two people like pulling a woman from the water onto the shore. Yes. And as they're pulling her, her body just splits in two, and you see decline. Is that going to work? Okay, good. I declined this time. So, and you see the sinewy, like
she keeps screaming as
yes,
and then she passes out.
Yeah, exactly. So you're able to do those kinds of things in a campy movie that you can't do in the other kind. So they really did not. I wasn't involved in the MPAA discussion, so there might have been stuff that had been taken out, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I'm not even going to worry about sound clips because I just have too many awesome kills and stuff I want to talk about with you still. Did you have to do any kind of was there any research in the like 2 million year old piranha lake under a lake, or just making that stuff up just for?
We did very little research. Yeah, I think at some point we had done some research, and I'm not going to know the exact amount, but like that the longest piranha, the biggest piranha that's ever been caught was like 23 centimeters or something like that, and we're like, that's not going to do it. We need some fucking killer ass, big ass piranha. So, and prehistoric piranha were it was also in that document that I was telling you about. Yeah. One day, you know what? I'm going to post that document on my website just so people can kind of have some fun.
We'd love to see that
and look at it. But yeah, the prehistoric piranha. Although I will say there was Chuck Russell did a rewrite of the film. He was the first director that was attached. Mm-hmm. Chuck Russell was attached to direct for a while, and he did a rewrite of the film. And I think the underwater cave, even though the earthquake and the prehistoric piranha were all part of the original draft, I think he had written a scene that took place in the underwater cave where they see the eggs and stuff. And I think that might have come from his draft. But Melton and Dunstan, who I adore and who we are constant. They and me and Pete were constantly rewriting each other on different scripts.
Yeah.
They wrote a whole bunch of the Saw films. We did a draft of a Halloween movie for Weinstein before it got pushed over to Blumhouse, and I think Dunstan and Melton did a rewrite of our stuff. Aaron Kruger had done a rewrite of this thing. So I mean, there were a lot of people that had their fingerprints on the project.
I forgot, actually, second part of my favorite kill with Jerry O'Connell is the piranha in this movie break the fourth wall a few times, but the most breaking of the fourth wall. And I think the reason why, if I'm not mistaken, the silicone boobs, the silicone implants floating up happens the same time the penis floating down. So I think this was actually the first time I saw the silicone implants, because I was so distracted by a severed penis floating down. Two piranhas fight over it. One eats it, and one not only eats it in front of you, but then burps it up at camera and then eats it again. And like, it's just like looking at the camera like, fuck you. Yep, this is what's happening.
You didn't think you had to see a severed penis, but now you do. Yeah,
but now not only have to see it severed, you have to see it like chunked and like it's like regurgitated. Yeah. So was that in the original script, or was that added to it? And we only got a
I don't
that came from.
I don't remember. That might have been an Alex thing. That might have been an Alex and Gregory thing. I don't remember what draft that
so bonkers
the film, but yeah, that was just fucking nuts. I mean, just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It has. For anyone who hasn't seen this movie, I'm kind of glad we didn't talk too much about the specifics. I hope we've given you enough of a taste of how bonkers it is, because once it hits, I clocked it. Once it hits minute 45, it's like insanity from that minute forward.
Yeah.
And there's enough kills throughout. It's paced so well. And when it's not a kill, it's something funny, or it's Jerry O'Connell being ridiculous. So you guys do a really great job of not falling into the tropes of most creature features or slasher films where you're just bored to tears for the first 40 minutes and then like finally kills are happening. You pace out kills so well, and you make characters that are ridiculous and fun. It's one of my favorite B movies I've ever seen. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I am incredibly, as ridiculous as it is, I'm incredibly proud of it and was really happy. I mean, the crazy thing is when you look at all the films I've made, and this is the besides maybe the Hangover Games, it's one of the most silly films that I've made, and yet the cast is incredible. You got Bing Rames and Elizabeth Shue, and I mean, it is wall to wall amazing actors and a film director, Alex Aja, at really the top of his game when he was making this film. It's it was a joy to be a part of.
It's so awesome. Well, I think we do. What? Oh yeah. Jesse.
No, go ahead.
Do it, buddy.
I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Ben was asking, because the beach scene, what it felt like to me almost was inspired by like war movies. It played out very much like a scene from a war movie, especially like the duration of it and how relentless it was. Did you have any of that in your sort of like floating around in there also?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we had always known that we needed the huge scene of mayhem. I think in our draft, it wasn't positioned where it was in the film. And I think Alex made a really good decision to put that like basically at the midpoint of the film, to make you realize, holy shit, I can't believe I just saw that. Where else can this possibly go?
Yeah.
And then it goes in a more personal place. I look at it, they're very similar to the way that they did that Tom Cruise zombie movie where your second act is
or Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt, sorry.
Yeah, World War Z.
Yeah. Where act 2 was just like the insane, I can't get any bigger than that. And then your act 3 is to bring it back and make it more personal and make it about, the Elizabeth Shue character trying to get her son back and all of those. So, but yes, that was. I love your Jesse. I love your suggestion that that's a lot like a war movie, because it really is. Your people are witnessing things they've never witnessed before. The audience included.
Falling into and they're all fucked. It's so crazy.
Oh my God.
We do have to wrap the show. Josh, thank you so much for joining us, man. It's so
I absolutely loved it. I love your guys' podcast. Keep it up. I can't wait to find some more movies, some more deliciously crazy film.
Do you have any recent horror films you've seen to recommend our audience? Anything you've dug lately?
There is a movie on Shudder, which is a horror Netflix. It's like Shudder is like the horror Netflix. Jam. There is a movie called Revenge.
It's awesome. I saw that in theaters.
Holy fuck?
Yeah.
That third act, that last 10 minutes is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. And it's brilliant.
It's so good.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. That's my listener pick.
Fantastic. Where can they find you and see all your work, your photography you do, and your
my Twitter and my Instagram are both just my name, which is Josh Josh Stolberg, STOLB as in boy ERG at Josh Stolberg, and I try to really keep up with the Twitter people and try to write back when people ask questions.
Yeah, really good about that. I noticed that a lot.
Throw up a lot of my photography, a lot of things like the underwater ballet.
Yeah.
Then I've been. When is Renee going to come model for me?
Jesse, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Too Much Jesse, for sketch at the Prom Losers.
And you can find me at the Ben Begley on Twitter and Instagram. You can find us at Guilty Movie Guys. Make sure you leave a review on this on iTunes. Make sure you retweet this. Leave a review on YouTube. Let us know what you thought of Piranha 3D. What other Josh Stolberg classics you've seen or you're looking forward to. And until next time, what is your guilty movie pleasure?
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.